But I'm really resisting the urge to not play "Fuck Donald Trump" as like the song behind the little thing because I feel like that would be too cliche of a.
No, it wouldn't be. Not cliche isn't the word. Couldn't it would be? You couldn't like. I'm not trying to alienate everybody. Couldn't.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta stick. You gotta stay in the middle somewhat. Couldn't.
Well, I don't know.
You give your opinion, and I give my opinion. Great. But you can't say "fuck Donald Trump," couldn't. Like,
well, this is gonna be
some Donald Trump supporters I would like to listen to.
This is going to be a great podcast because I'm probably gonna say "fuck Donald Trump" a few times. Whoa! Welcome to the Best Friend Weekend podcast, man. This your man Aldo Nice,
and I'm Rog Smuve.
He is Rog Smuve. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Can you play that? Let's get that. Yeah,
welcome back, Connor.
Let's get that Mace on here.
Oh, you want the Mace version? I mean, that.
Which one did you say? The Harry Potter?
No, I said welcome back, Cotter. It's on Nick at Night.
No, I want the welcome back.
No, that's they got the sample
welcome back. I want the Mace version.
you can have the Mace version, man. Yeah. Well, like I said, we took the little weekend off and did got the boy Los in there to do a little bit of educated ignorance. Now we back in direct with the Best Friend Weekend podcast. I mean, this weekend was crazy. Like crazy weekend in America. And I feel like some people come to us to get our opinions on some things. I mean, pretty much you're here listening, so obviously you're here to get our take on some things. And we felt like we had some hot takes and some different discussions about things. I mean, like Roger said, we don't want to alienate nobody. But even though the website says we're here to alienate people and, do things of that nature, there's no real reason to go straight and say, hey, forget one or the other, but let's just kind of talk about it. Let's have a civil conversation about it and just kind of see what you guys kind of think about that. So without further ado, let's go straight to Charlottesville, man. Rod, you actually sent me a piece. I don't remember what it was. I gotta probably look this up on my phone, but I did take a couple of notes on it. It was a guide to the Charlottesville aftermath, and it was a New York Times article by couple of staff writers, and they just talked about the events in Charlottesville. Man, look, I'm passing the mic because I didn't probably talk too much already. What do you think about it?
I think that there's some things that are left up to opinion, and I think that there's some things that are universally, either right or wrong, or should be at least. I mean, of course, what was going on in Charlottesville. For anyone to sit and tell me that it was right, would be wrong to me. So, it's, the whole, the cause of the, or I guess the movement or the whatnot, the reason why the people were there, you can paint a picture of that being right. I just think that everything doesn't have to be a movement. It doesn't have to be a congregation getting together to try to fight against the powers that be. Just live your life. That's what I think about the beginning of it. And of course the violence. I'm always against anything that ends in violence. I don't care what the cause is. If it's got violence connected to it, I think it's wrong. So someone driving a car into a crowd of people, white, black, whatever it is, it's just wrong. That's just not how you deal with problems. Regardless of what's going on in the streets. If I see a Ku Klux Klan rally going on in the street, I'm not gonna drive my car through them. I'm just not gonna do it.
I can see that. I can see that as a. I mean, I'm not gonna say that that's not valid because I think it is. Violence doesn't really solve everything. I mean, but I guess if you look at some historical things, you have that pacifist, peaceful type of protest as a Dr. King would do, and then you have that by any means necessary that a Malcolm X would do. So, I mean, there's always kind of different thoughts as regards to what violence can prove or not. That was senseless violence, though, so I think we're on the same page with that, though. Definitely, senseless violence is never the answer, and I just thought it was just crazy. Like, I mean, besides the actual death that took place, which is horrendous, right? I think the craziest part was that it was actually happening. You know, like I turned on the TV on Saturday or Friday, whatever day it was, and they were walking around. It was so crazy looking that they were walking around with tiki torches like they was at a backyard barbecue, but they were trying to evoke a feeling of as though they were these white knights of the Ku Klux Klan and walking around with torches ready to burn down somebody's house. But now you really got a tiki torch, and it was kind of whack. But you know, this podcast is brought to you by Klan members who choose to take off the hood these days, because I'm happy that we actually get to see your face. Shout out. I mean, you know, do it big. I like how they were kind of outing them on social media and putting actually like what their job titles were and where they worked. I mean, stand behind it, man. Let's see if your employer really likes you out in these streets, talking down on Jews and colored people and people who have same-sex relationships. I don't think anybody likes that, and I don't think it's really what it is. But do you know what the real reason for this protest was? It was a Unite the Right March is what it was called. Not right like correct, the right as in the right wing. And when we talk about right, we talk about conservatives, Republicans. I mean, obviously, we're talking about a left and a right. And when we use the term alt-right, we're talking about an alternative right wing, an alternative part of the Republican Party. We had discussions, we had spirited discussions in the past about, is it okay for a black person to be right wing? And I think, obviously, it is. But what are your views on the alternative right, Raj? The alt-right?
My views on the alternative right, is that far right? What are you giving me alt-right?
Yeah, alt-right. Whites did alt-right, neo-Nazi. It's all the same thing. White supremacists. That's all alt-right.
So let me give you the definition of alt-right so I can better understand it for myself. The alt-right or the alternative right is a loosely defined group of people with far-right ideologies who reject mainstream conservatism in favor of white nationalism, principally in the United States, but also to a lesser degree in Canada and Europe. What's my take on alt-right? So I think. Well, no,
I think I'm doing it a disservice. I'm trying to couch it in the fact that you have more right-wing opinions, way more right-wing opinions than myself, and you usually talk about having an affinity for the right side, for the Republican Party. How do you feel as a person who kind of stands on that plateau about that group infiltrating or actually just kind of speaking for the Republican Party?
I mean, so as a black person who has generally conservative views, of course I don't necessarily like it. Not even necessarily, I don't like it at all. I don't even think that there should be such a thing, like as to take conservative views as and construe them how you want them to be. If someone's conservative in their beliefs, and to be honest with you, there's a lot of people that don't even know that they're conservative in their beliefs, and more so than not to me. But to take it and to just make it what you want and to just say, oh no, white people are Republicans and black people are Democrats, and so we're gonna make this thing called the alt-right and be white nationalists and white supremacists. To me, it's not even a real thing to me. Like it's something to ignore. I guess, ignore unless it becomes an issue. If it becomes an issue, then of course you can't ignore it. But I don't. Those people don't matter to me. Like I choose to ignore those people. I
understand that saying that you choose to ignore it, because I can kind of equate this with something that last time I was in DC, I was with the fellas for our Fret's 100-year anniversary, and we were walking around in DC, and there was a group on the corner, and it was nothing but black dudes with dreads, dashikis on, and real militant outfits. And they were, and I hate to typecast in that way, but that's how they were dressed. And they had big megaphones out on the side of the corner, and they were just talking about I'm going to use the term New Black Panther Party, which, may or may not be correct, but some very far left, I guess you would say out left, views of, fuck them crackers, nah, we ride and we doing this and that and the third. And I remember talking to the homies and we was like, they make me nervous. They kind of a little bit more, they a little bit more extreme. Them dudes is, hey man, that's not really kind of how I feel about everything. So I see how someone can hijack a party and hijack an ideology and kind of run with it and kind of make it feel as though that's their place. But it makes the people who kind of have more moderate views. Because, obviously we have more moderate views than some on both sides of the aisle.
You know what I was actually, so I guess just to kind of it's along the same lines, but I was thinking about this in the shower today, funny enough. Everybody has a cause. Not everybody. A lot of people have a cause that they believe in, from, something like, breast cancer to something like, gay rights or white nationalism or, Black Lives Matter. And I just believe that whatever your cause is, I don't have to support your cause. I don't have to support every cause. And I don't know why you're out in the street. Why is everybody out in the street acting like they're the only thing that matters? There's this statue of Robert E. Lee. And of course Robert E. Lee was a Confederate general, and they want the statue down because we've come this far as a nation to accept everyone and not just Confederate views and blah 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 blah, so on and so forth. I don't care enough to go and march in the street about a statue of Robert E. Lee. I don't care. It doesn't mean anything. And if anything, if I look at it glass half full, I'm thinking to myself, that statue is a reminder of how far we've come as a country. If I'm looking at it glass half full, it might not be how I really feel, but
is that what a Confederate flag means to you too? Oh, no, we came a long way?
Not necessarily, because a Confederate flag isn't a statue. If somebody, but now, if a person has a Confederate flag in the front of their house, I don't care. That's you. I don't have to go to that house. If you want to have that in your house, fine with me. I'm just not gonna go to your house. If that's what you believe. I remember being on the bus in middle school and this girl had a Confederate flag drawn or something like that, and she said, "Oh, it's not racism, it's heritage or something like that." And I'm just like, whatever, I get what you're saying, but you don't have to have a Confederate flag. I do think that if someone wants to write their senator though and say and put together like a petition to take a flag out of, if let's say Mississippi, was it Mississippi that's flag?
South Carolina.
So South Carolina still had some remnants of the Confederate flag on their flag. If you want to protest against that in the ways that you should protest, then go ahead by all means. But I'm just not going to be in the street trying to knock down some statue. I don't necessarily agree with that.
Well, you're talking about statues, and we'll come to that in a little bit of a second. I just kind of want to back up a little bit because you talked about the Confederate flag, and I think it's interesting. Just kind of an interesting phenomenon to me. I think that, I don't understand how these neo-Nazis, that's what we'll call them, outright, whomever, get the gall to conflate the American flag, the Confederate flag, and Nazi flags, all together as symbols of whiteness. Honestly, I feel like we talk about heritage and you talk about different things, and I understand where you're coming from because you're coming from a real Southwest Louisiana. We kind of grew up in the same place perspective of it because it was in our face growing up. I made a post on Facebook earlier this week. It was on IG earlier this week about David Duke running for governor and coming out second and winning Iberia Parish. So David Duke's at a lot of the center of the activities of this week. Former KKK Grand Wizard ran for governor of the state we grew up in when we were in our formative years. And he damn near won. This podcast is brought to you by white people from New Iberia who voted for David Duke and your parents, or probably your parents. Just
Definitely your parents.
I just don't. I can't get that. I don't understand. Like I can't wrap my head around it as now being removed from it. But at the time, I could definitely wrap my head around it. So that's why I think you can wrap your head around a Confederate flag. But those other images, Nazi flags, Confederate flags, and American flags, I feel like all three of those things are stark opposition of one another. You know what I mean? Like, the Americans killed Hitler. I mean, we didn't kill Hitler, obviously, but we fought Hitler in World War II. Like we don't, like, fuck the Nazis, right? America fought the Confederacy. Fuck the Confederacy. They trying to break up the Union. Like, why is that symbols of, why are you using all of those symbols together as like, oh, that means I'm an American? And I don't know. That means it's so un-American to me. Like, it's so un-American to me.
I think what you're saying, and I'm only playing devil's advocate here, is, you know, it's up to perspective. You know, whenever I go to the art museum and I look at, and that's a great perspective that you have, and I think that it's the right perspective. It's the perspective that I would go with. But whenever I'm in the art museum and I'm looking at a particular painting, and let's just for the sake of the conversation say that it's a painting of those three merged into each other, you know, I might have a different perspective, and my perspective might be, oh, this is brainwashing, or this is someone trying to paint the American flag as to be something that it's not, because not everyone has the knowledge that you and I have about where we've come from a country and us fighting against the Nazis and us fighting against the Confederacy. Not everyone would ever put that into context. They might just see those flags and say, oh, damn, the American flag stands for the same thing that those flags stand for, just because of sheer ignorance. You know how how easy it is just to influence an ignorant person?
It is. It's easy to adopt a symbol, and it's very easy to confuse someone who's ignorant and to get down their mind on some different stuff.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you another question about just symbols and flags. Growing up, I like rainbows. I think rainbows are cool as shit.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to walk around with a rainbow on my shirt anymore because that would be confusing to people. You know what I mean? I can't go up to a girl in the club and try to holler at her with a rainbow on my shirt because that officially says that I'm gay. Well, whoever said that rainbow had to be a symbol of gay?
What's interesting? It's interesting. That's interesting because, like, when we were growing up, I remember Hawaii, the University of Hawaii, their football team used to be the Rainbow Warriors, and their outfits used to have like a rainbow on their helmets, and that wouldn't fly these days because it has different meaning. But I think that, let's not be naive. Once something has a defined meaning where most of the population understand it to mean something and they've hijacked it for whatever reason, and it means that now, like the Nazi symbol might have meant something before that. Shit, a cross might have meant something before Jesus Christ. But after it's like the official symbol of Catholicism or the official symbol of the Nazi party, then that's what people rocking with. And if you're using it, let's not confuse ourselves and let's not beat around the bush like we're not talking about people who are racist who are using this to push racist ideology, because that's what's happening. I mean, I know you're devil's advocating. You've made it very clear that those aren't your views and you don't respect it. But at the same time, let's not give them too much credit for that. I mean, on September 11th, out here in Houston, I mean not in Houston, well up in Bryan College Station, this dude Preston Wigington is having a White Lives Matter movement. One of the same guys from the alt-right movements who may or may not have been in Charlottesville. He's having another movement right outside of Houston for White Lives Matter. I mean, I just think this is kind of it's just crazy to me to understand that this is 2017 and people are like really out in the streets kind of like making this happen. And you know what, well, let's talk about it. You brought it up. You brought a little bit up about it, about what the meaning of the Charlottesville protest was. It was about the Robert E. Lee statue, right?
Correct.
So you said that you don't care, right?
No, I don't care enough to go out in the streets. You know. Okay.
So I
don't care enough to march. I'm not marching. Like, I'm not marching for anything like that. I don't care. Like, for one, it's dangerous. You know, like, I'm not going out there. I'm not risking my life for a march, for a cause. I'm not doing it.
So when they were taking down Confederate generals' monuments in New Orleans, earlier this year in our home state, There were people protesting in Louisiana, like leave up these monuments of the Confederacy. When the South Carolina, when the Confederate flag stopped flying over the South Carolina State House, people were upset and saying to stop doing that. Are you just saying that you're indifferent towards it, or are you saying that it has a right to still be there because of heritage?
No, okay, so like I hope that you wouldn't put words.
I'm asking you a question. No, that's why I'm asking
me a question. You're giving me two options for that.
Okay, so if you have a third, go ahead, run it.
No, so I'm not saying that it has a right to stay up there. Okay, thank you. I'm also, but in the same light, I'm saying that I don't care enough to get out in the street and march about it. If somebody comes up to me and says, hey, because I'm never going to coordinate it myself. I'm only going to hear it through the grapevine or on Facebook or word of mouth. Somebody comes up to me and says, hey, there's a protest. We're going to march against this Confederate statue that's downtown.
That's not the point. That's not the angle I'm coming at all. They're not talking about. I'm not at all. That's not what's happening in these situations. We aren't going. Well, I'm not, or whomever is not having this email that goes out and says, "Hey, we're going to march against the flag." No, there's things done the right politically way to get these things taken away, and then once it happens, those people who do have those racist and bigoted ideas, they march to say, "Keep it up." That's what was happening in Charlottesville. It wasn't a march to take down the statue of Robert E. Lee. That statue was coming down. They marched to go over there and say, why is it coming down? White power. I mean.
Okay, well then in that light, all right. So in that light, I'm just going to make sure that I stay as far away from downtown as possible.
So you don't think it's your civic duty and civic responsibility.
To go and march against them?
To say, yeah.
No, absolutely not.
So let's paint it another way. Let's say we growing up in New Iberia, in Louisiana, or even where you are in Denver, or where I'm at in Houston, and you are going to work, and right around the corner from your job is 150 guys out there with torches or faux torches, whatever they have out there, and they're talking about take back our country and liberal swine and Jews have our jobs and we hate gays and whatever other hate spew that they're out there doing. You're not going to feel compelled to be like, go home, get out of here.
No, I'll be compelled to drive in the opposite direction and go wherever I was going.
And you're going to think that it's okay to just allow them to have their freedom, their response. I mean, it's free. It's a free country, right? We say, right?
To say whatever they want to say. They have their freedom to say whatever they want to say.
What if they're doing it in front? What if they're doing it in front of your apartment complex?
I would hope that I would be able to just get out of my apartment complex if need be. You know,
and just let them have it.
If it poses any harm to me, then yeah, I'm calling the police. But yeah, no. If y'all want to march or whatever y'all want y'all little cause to be, that's the type of person I am. Whatever your cause is, go ahead and march.
How does it make you feel?
Don't expect me to care.
You just don't. Okay, so it. I'm just trying to really listen to you, man, and just trying to hear what you're saying. So it doesn't evoke what kind of emotion does it evoke? It just makes you feel like, I don't care?
Well, I guess I would have to be nosy enough, one, to know what they're like. I guess they would have to have a loud speaker or something like that, or maybe nosy enough.
They don't have to do that for me. All they need is a Confederate flag or a Nazi flag, and I know what's going on.
If there's some dudes that's in the middle of the street, unusually in the middle of the street, where I live, you know, it'd be weird. But if they were there in the middle of the street with Confederate flags and torches and saying all kinds of things about let's take our country back and whatnot, I'm telling you, if I need to leave my house, I would hope that I have an avenue to leave. I don't want any harm to be done to me, of course. I would also hope that no one would drive their car through them. But I wouldn't care. I don't care. I don't care enough about people's causes. Any cause. I'm not okay. So your boy, the police shootings. I feel for those people. You know, I feel for their families. But I'm not going march on the streets for them dudes. Like I'm chilling in my house. It's dangerous places. I'm not going over there. I'm putting myself in a compromising position. Especially to try to challenge somebody like that. I would have to have a big group to go and challenge another big group. If I had another big group, then I would hope that we would go and party and go do something else just to ignore these people. And hope they go on by the time we get back.
And man, I hear you, but I just think that you can't ignore racism forever. You can't. I mean, you can't ignore social injustice forever, and it's okay. I just like we call this podcast Best Friend Weekend because we're really good friends, and and we've been really good friends for a long time. But at the same time, when we have conversations like this, it allows me to understand how much differently our opinions on things like this. I don't my mind doesn't automatically go to a place of I don't care about your opinion, or I don't care about your whatever you're mad about, your cause. I don't care. I feel strongly about these things, and even if I might not, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Maybe it's probably the smart thing if they're in front of my house to go somewhere else and get myself away from that situation. So I actually do agree with that, but the way I feel about it wouldn't change. Even if I leave there and do the safe thing and leave the environment of what this protest is happening, I'm still going to feel a way about that. I'm going to feel like, why are people in 2017 in America out in the middle of the streets, like protesting basically our ability and our right to exist and in America? Because, I mean, you just kind of read something about white nationalists. What do you think white nationalist means? A white nation. Like, they don't want us to exist in America, and you're that, like, pissed that you're out in the middle of the streets, like, protesting about it. It bothers the hell out of me. It's like, I can't even, there's no two ways about that. I can't sit up here and say, nah, that doesn't really affect me. And what? No, that affects me, and I feel strongly about that. So, like I said, we can agree to disagree on that. And we don't have to even be disagreeable about it. It's just, I feel completely different in that regard. But I mean, something you did say about the statues. I said something about, South Carolina State House and in New Orleans, but also just right here in Houston, there were 7 high schools: Lee High School, not all high schools, but Lee High School, Sidney Johnston Middle, Stonewall Jackson Middle, Reagan High, Dowling Middle. People might not know that one. Lanier Middle School and Jeff Davis High. All of them had to change their name last year because they were all Confederate generals that the schools were named after. And they changed the names of all of those schools, and it was a little bit of an uproar out here. And I remember thinking, like, this hits home because, like, I was working with some teachers from a school, and I was like, oh, these teachers work at I don't know, I think it was Jackson. And then halfway through the year, like, I was like, they're not at Jackson. What school are they at? Like, and I couldn't even figure out the name of the school that they were at because they had changed the name of a school that had been long standing. And I was thinking, like, oh man, that's an inconvenience. But then when I really thought about it, you know what? I mean, change the names. I was like, change the names. Like, there's no reason why, if it costs you a couple of, I don't know, $1 billion to change the marquee outside of the school and change the mascot and change the t-shirts, the old stuff will just be legacy. Jonas Henderson High was Westgate at a time. You know what I mean? Like, schools change names all the time. And there shouldn't be schools named after Confederate generals. You shouldn't be like, and I get the whole heritage angle, but the heritage of what? Of an institution that tried to overthrow the United States. We wanna keep celebrating that. Like, I don't know. I think in Rwanda or somewhere, if you have like talking about, oh yeah, I'm gonna fly this Hutu flag because they were the heritage of the genocide that they did and killed all. No, don't bring this around here. Get that flag out of here. Get that reminder of our terrible past as a nation out of here.
And you know how I feel about that?
Go ahead.
If a community gets together and decides that they want to change the name of the school because of those reasons, I'm 100% fine with it. Like I said, I'm not marching about it, but if someone walks up to my door, and I'm not big on solicitation, but let's just say if someone walks up to my door and I decide to open the door, knowingly it wouldn't be a Jehovah's Witness. So if they were dressed not like a Jehovah's Witness, I opened my door and they said, hey, sorry to bother you on your off day. But this is a petition that we're signing to change the name of this school from this to this because was it what it was before, what it is now. It's a Confederate general and blah blah blah. ... I would sign the petition. I would 100% sign the petition. Like, because I agree with you. No, we don't necessarily need those reminders. Like, I was only giving you, whenever I gave you the example about the statue and it being a reminder of how far we've come as a country.
And I
don't think that
agree.
we necessarily need the reminder, but
I think
if it's there,
I think that was an interesting convo because I think you had a misconception there. I think the misconception was that you were thinking people were like people were protesting, take down the statue.
No, I was only giving you clarity. I was only giving you clarity into how I feel. I didn't want you to think that I was saying, "Oh no, that's a damn shame that they changed the names of those schools because those Confederate guys were a part of the nation." Mm-hmm. No. I wasn't saying that. I was only saying that if it comes down to a march, I'm not marching. I'm not putting myself in harm's way because somebody might drive a car through me, or shoot me. So I'm not doing that. But if it's a silent protest and it's a petition and if it's in my community and someone brings light to it, because it's not gonna be me, because I don't care enough, like I told you. But if somebody brings light to it to me, then cool, I'll sign the petition. I get it. I understand. Yeah, I feel you. Let's change the name of that thing if we can.
Yeah, I mean I'm all about that. It even took me a while, like back in the day, like a couple years ago when they said they were going to change Andrew Jackson to Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. Like, I didn't understand the reason why. Like, I'm sitting here like, I don't know what, Andrew Jackson was a bad guy and but he was a president and he wasn't like maybe he probably was a slave owner or whatever. I'm like, but I don't think it was, and I came around to the idea that it wasn't as much of an indictment on Andrew Jackson as it was of paying homage to Harriet Tubman. And if that's the case, hell yeah. Like, and if like the names of these new schools in Houston are like, instead of Robert E. Lee or Thomas Stonewall Jackson, if there's somebody who was actually influential to like the modern United States and we want to thank them in that way by memorializing them by the name of a school, hell yeah, let's do that instead of these people who were trying to actively work to tear down the United States. Speaking of actively working to tear down the United States, I'm going to give you some audio. And this audio is from the President of the United States.
What about the alt-left that came charging at as you say, the alt-right? Do they have any semblance of guilt?
Let
me ask you this. What about the fact they came charging with clubs in their hands, swinging clubs? Do they have any problem? I think they do. I watched those very closely, much more closely than you people watched it. And you have you had a group on one side that was bad, and you had a group on the other side that was also very violent. And nobody wants to say that, but I'll say it right now. You had a group on the other side that came charging in without a permit, and they were very, very violent.
So Donald Trump feels that the alt-right and the alt-left are both to blame for Charlottesville. I don't know. Like, people always want to ask what's your opinion of, like, he says it's blame to go on both sides, right? You just heard it. People want to go in on Donald Trump, and I'm just going to put it like this. This has been, like, we both voted, when we did our top 10 in 2016, we both had Donald Trump pretty damn high, in the top 3 for both of us.
He's my top 1.
Yeah. He finessed the country last year, and Donald Trump became the president. Shout out. But my thoughts are just really of kind of thinking about the way I really feel about Donald Trump. And I never thought Donald Trump was a racist. Like, I never thought Donald Trump was a racist. That never was like a thing in my head. I just always thought he was narcissistic and it's all about him and he wants to be the center of attention and he wants it to be all about Donald Trump. But I feel like when he makes comments like that, what he's doing is he's energizing racists and he's demoralizing regular people. And it's just, like you said when we started this podcast today, that there's so obviously a right and a wrong. And I just feel like he doesn't get it. The president doesn't get it. And it sucks. It sucks that the president doesn't get it. I'm not going to ask you who you voted for because I don't really care about that. But I do want to know, what are your thoughts on Donald Trump? and his presidenting, the way he presidents, especially in times like this.
Donald Trump in this situation. So, what did you expect him to say? You know. So
if you've been listening to Donald Trump, that's what he's going to say.
Here's what I got. You know. So here's the you know, the whole racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, and blah blah blah. I mean, duh. Like that's what the president's gonna say. You know, he's gonna you can't be a president and openly promote racism and violence and whatnot. You know, especially with your citizens. You know, of course, I definitely think that what he said and what I just said a little while ago was very presidential, and he should have pretty much left it at that. He should have just spoke against racism and, you know, spoke against violence and said it was, you know, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes he delves a little bit too far and you kind of have to read between the lines on the things that he's really saying. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you don't have to go that far. I think sometimes he talks himself into a circle.
You think like, okay, I agree.
I think so. I mean, sometimes I talk myself into a circle. You know, sometimes I say something and then someone will be like, well, what do you feel about this? You know, and I'll talk myself into a circle. I'll get myself somewhere I don't want to be, and then I have to answer questions. I think Donald Trump is he's in the spotlight. He's the president of the United States. He's the leader of the free world. You know, he gets himself into sticky situations with his mouth. I don't necessarily think that he wanted to say those things. He should have just left it presidential, but we both know that the media is going to pick on Donald Trump. The media is going to make Donald Trump say that shit.
Is that what you're coming with?
No,
right
and
now?
I'm not defending him, and I hate that you think that.
I don't know, but that sounds like out of his mouth.
If it was racism is evil and people in the KKK are bad. All right, Mr. Trump, talk to you later. You know, but it was like, I'm sure that they ask him other questions. You know,
well, the thing is, he wants to disassociate himself from like the bad stuff, but he understands that that's part of his base that votes for him. Like David Duke, we'll come back full circle. Like, and all of these like white supremacists are like, oh yeah, Trump, and they're going like tweeting saying, "Great job, Trump! I see what you did today." And he knows that he wants to keep their support politically. So he doesn't want to say the wrong things. I want to go back to that part I'm saying, Raj, and I'm really, really, this is where I'm interested. I'm just interested. Is Donald Trump a racist?
I think, we have a lot of white listeners. I think America's moving to a place where racism is generation by generation is kind of diminishing. I think it's getting better as a whole. I think it still exists, but I think generation by generation, as far as white people go, I think it's getting better. It's definitely a lot better than from when we grew up. But I think people Donald Trump's age, I don't know how old Donald Trump is. Is he 70?
Yeah, he's old. He's old.
So people in their 70s like Donald Trump, I think that he has no choice but to be racist. Not racist, but I think that I don't think that he's a full-blown racist, but I think that if you make him mad enough, he'll say nigger.
Okay.
You let some black people make him mad, or you know, let some stuff happen in front of him, or let some shit not go his way the way he wanted it to go, and then he'll show how racist he is.
Okay. So I think I've told you this before. I think I've been on that side where I thought he was narcissistic and not racist. I think the more I really think about this, when he was a younger person and he had that housing discrimination lawsuit in New York where he wasn't giving people housing based on their race. And then I really think about the whole birther movement of Barack Obama is not an American citizen. I really, really, really want to stop short of saying that the president is a racist. But I'm going to say this. Donald Trump does and says a lot of racist shit. And he does it a lot. And does that make him a racist? No, I learned that story a long time ago. You don't tell anybody you are a racist. You say what you did was racist or what you said was racist. and he's done and said a lot of racist shit. So take that with how you will. I honestly think this podcast is brought to you by Barack Obama, and the current state of our union is a lot based upon Barack Obama. I think those people out there marching and doing all of that stuff, man, that's Barack, man. When we elected a black president, it brought out the worst in a lot of people, and I feel like they just been feeding off of that for the last 10 years. Like, since 07 presidential election when Barack Obama got elected, or 08 the presidential election, my apologies, it's just been this undercurrent of the worst people in society who have these strong racist opinions have just been coming out for the last 10 years. So yeah, this Trump is riding the wave of those people, like, and he's using them for votes and whatever else. So I still kind of think it's politically motivated and narcissistic, and he wanting to be the man. But man, that's a tough ride. It's tough.
You know what I think? I think once I really sit back and look at it, I don't think that Trump was the right person. I don't think that Trump, nor do I think Hillary was the right person to be president. Not because of political views, but just because of personality and characteristics. The state of the nation right now, it seems like we're in like, whenever we look back on the 2010s, I feel like it's going to be the era of the movement. You know what I mean? It's going to be the era of people trying to fight for their rights, and everybody trying to fight for their rights. It's not just blacks. It's not just whites, if you will. It's not just gays. It's freaking everybody. And I'm tired of it, bro. Like, just freaking go home and go to work. That's what I do. I go home, I go to work, I have fun with my friends, and I'm not worried about trying to support my movement.
You're not worried about...
I want to be gay.
Okay, but you're not worried about your movement until somebody shoots your cousin, or until somebody shoots somebody like in your neighborhood, man.
Everybody should mind their business. Like, just mind your business.
Can't happen like that, man. Listen, it can't happen like that. That's not a real thing. Like, I understand that sometimes to steal from Bill Maher, that we live in a bubble, that's not a real thing, man. You can't sit around and say that everybody should mind their business. Police don't mind their business when they pull young black men over and execute them sometimes, running away in different states or allegedly reaching for different things in their car. So people are marching because that could be them. Gays marching for just rights. They probably are marching because of laws that they want enacted and things that they really can't do in their regular life that are affecting their life. I don't know what the hell. What can I do that a gay person can't do? Now you can get married, and that's the thing. I mean, back then, I'm sorry, I said that the wrong way. Until recently, you could get married and they couldn't. I mean, those are certain rights that they want to have to be able to have tax benefits and other things, and just being right in the eyes of whomever that they pray to, on whatever the reasons is that they want to be married. But there's different reasons, and maybe not even married. It might even be hate crimes against them that they're marching about, like trying to have some kind of equality in a lot of senses. I guess the bigger point I was saying is these alt-right people who are marching to keep statues up and to do, like, what are they marching for?
But you see, like, that's my point. I just feel like, and you might take this the wrong way, but I feel like if Black Lives Matter doesn't happen, then these alt-right stuff, and it's not just Black Lives Matter, if any of these little movements that people march in the streets for that have happened before all of these alt-right stuff, this little let's march against the statue stuff doesn't happen, then people don't feel inclined. It's like, oh, okay, well, people are marching. Well, we should march too. I'm just tired of marches.
Okay, so no, but
I feel like growing up there were no marches.
Okay, but yeah,
and gay people couldn't vote.
Okay, so
I mean couldn't get married.
So
and everything was the same.
No, everything wasn't the same. And yes, you're probably right about the fact that the alt-right is marching because Black Lives Matter march. You're probably right, because they had a 1 million man march 15 years ago. That's why the alt-right is marching. You're probably pretty accurate about that. But let's just be honest. I see absolutely nothing wrong with Black Lives Matter and people marching for that reason. So I just can't, like, it's so childish to think that a whole movement came about to say we're marching just because y'all are marching, and we want to be mad like because y'all are mad, and we're mad that y'all are mad, and all lives matter. And yesterday it wasn't even all lives matter what they were chanting. They were chanting white lives matter, and y'all are stealing our jobs in reverse discrimination and whatever else, and all of these other buzzwords that they use. I mean, initially when we were doing this pod, we actually talked to a few of our, just contacted a couple of our white friends and just was getting opinions on this. And I talked to a few people this week who were just talking about how upset they were about everything and how they just kind of feel like, what are they going to do? And what can they do to like be helpful? And it's just it's got to be speaking out. It's like, God, it's such a tough, complex issue, man. But I don't know, man. Like, I think when we talked about this yesterday, you were mentioning how one of your homeboys was kind of he had a different opinion, yeah, about just this whole phenomenon of what was happening in Charlottesville.
In Charlottesville,
he was
actually you said Charlottesburg throughout this whole thing. And
have I been saying that?
Yeah. Oh, you've been saying Charlottesburg, and it's funny though. It's cool.
Well, whereverville, fuck, that means it can happen anywhere. That's what that means. This podcast is brought to you by Charlottesburg.
By anywhere. So so it's funny because I don't know how my homeboy grew up, and I don't know his upbringing, but it was very weird to hear him say something like, this was his exact words verbatim. Damn, man, but that's white people killing white people. Like almost as if to say, like, that's not their role. Like they're overstepping their boundaries. White people killing white people, they don't do that. And I'm looking at him out the side of my eye, thinking to myself, like, why are you putting them so high up on a pedestal to say that they can't kill each other? They're not supposed to, or that's not their role. And he didn't say that. He didn't say, oh, that's their role. But the way he said it and the emotions that he had about white people killing white people weren't universal. Usually I look at things universally. If I see a white person killing a white person, I think it's a person killing a person. I hate when a black person kills a black person. Hate it. But nonetheless, I still see it as a person killing a person. That's not right. And then if I need to use it as an example, or if someone uses it as an example, then it becomes a thing. It becomes a certain demographic killed this demographic. But for the most part, when someone kills someone, I look at it in a universal sense. I don't think, white people killing white people is any less or any better than a black person killing a black person.
Well, I think that's societal. I think that some people grow up thinking that, like, that whole manichean way of thinking of right and wrong, of there's got to be a pure and there's got to be a dirty, there's got to be a right, there's got to be a wrong, there's got to be a black, there's got to be a white. And if you grow up in a society where white people are put on a pedestal in such a way that maybe this young black guy growing up always saw it that way, like, you might just be seeing the manifestation of of the media doing exactly what they set out to do in this young man's life, to where he's ultimately at this place as a grown up where he's thinking, man, white people don't kill white people, only black people kill black people. Like he's thinking that because that's what society has brought him to the place where he really believes that. And if that's the case, man, that's so sad and fucked up. Like,
and when we briefed this, I think that you got the impression that this was a guy that, just a guy, like just a guy that puts his pants on this one leg at a time like everybody else, But guy's got a college degree,
mm-hmm.
Like he grew up, across the country. Now he lives here in Denver, and so he's been some places, And to think that he still has those views after the college experience, it wasn't at HBCU.
Mm-hmm.
And he lives in a progressive, very, very progressive city now. To hear him say something like that, I think I hate to say it. I hope he's not listening. But I think he's a little bit behind the curve, man. Like I think that his you know, I don't think I would value his opinion very much on certain topics, especially in this light, because he's succumbed to that media perception. He's succumbed to what they fed him. He ate it, and he's still nourishing off of it.
Or maybe
he's still digesting it.
Or maybe you take the charge to be a person who can have conversations with him to maybe improve his worldview and give him more things to think about. Maybe not like this is a passion project, like you're sitting there talking to him every day, but just like make it a point to when you talk to that guy next time that, I don't know, just kind of maybe drop some jewels on him in some kind of way, because I don't know, that's sad, but I mean, I think it's his bigger point about white people killing white people is like the hashtag this week was obviously hashtag Heather Heyer, or Heyer, I don't even know how to pronounce your name, R.I.P., who was out there and got ran over by the car. That image was ridiculous with those people in the air getting hit by the car. I was just like, like, that's crazy. But I'm sure she never thought she would be a hashtag. I'm sure of it. I'm sure she did when she went out there to advocate for against neo-Nazism, that she thought she would have died that day. I'm not asking white people to die. I'm not asking for y'all to risk your lives. But to answer the question of a lot of my white colleagues and friends who say, "Hey, what should I do?" It is kind of that though. It's like you got to be like when I used to be a classroom teacher and I would be teaching and the kids would be cutting up or whatever or something, or the class I wouldn't like the vibe of the class. I would always say stuff like, "Hey, it's up to you, the good kids, to make these bad kids like talk to them. You can talk to them better than I can talk to them. You can do some change better. Tell them they messing with your educational experience." Man, white people got to police white people and stuff like this. Because I mean, imagine if that would have been really what they try to put it out to be, like a Black Lives Matter protest versus neo-Nazism. That would have been a lot worse of a scenario, and the optics would have been so bad to see black people and white people out there fighting. So I thank God for little things, that it wasn't a whole mob of black people versus a whole mob of white people, because the country would have been up in arms this week, man. Like, it kind of sucks, man. It sucks a lot, man. But there's like one other thing I really want to just chop on, because I mean, it's enlightening to hear your perspective on things and to just kind of talk some of these things out. But something irked me today too. I saw I was up watching fantasy football yesterday. Like they were doing like a draft on ESPN, and they were doing an auction draft, like fantasy football. Like every year since we've had fantasy football, an auction draft. And when I was watching it, I might have saw like Tom Brady. Aaron Rodgers. They auctioned off, and they might have auctioned off like Antonio Brown. And when I go on the internet today, they show like this still picture of the guy auctioning off Odell Beckham with Odell Beckham's face on like a little card, and the people in the crowd like auctioning, trying to buy Odell Beckham for their fantasy team. And like the post was like, "Are you outraged?" And I was absolutely outraged. I was outraged because like black people, like, why? Like, there are real things that we can be upset about. That is not a real thing to be upset about.
I'm so glad you feel that way. I was thinking that you were outraged about a freaking auction draft. It's a type, there's
snake
money
draft.
Leagues, there's snake drafts, serpentine, standard, and then there's auction drafts. I don't get it. I was so hoping that you wasn't about to say but you know what the funny thing was is, you know what they could have did? I mean, the only thing they could have did was they could have put a black person in the audience. Maybe one guy just to say, but I get it. I'm not, whenever I see stuff like that, I don't take it upon myself.
But the thing is, whoever made the meme is the person who was trying to rile people up. Like, right? Somebody saw that and was like, "Oh no. Like, oh no, y'all not about to be selling black men on national TV."
Well, that person obviously doesn't play fantasy football. You
think so? Or do you think they do play fantasy football? They knew exactly what was going on, and they were trying to push their own agenda.
No, I think if that person, okay, so here's what I really think. Either that person doesn't play fantasy football and he got it, it was a misunderstanding. He doesn't understand what's going on, the dynamic, or he plays fantasy football and he's being funny. That's it. That's my two. That there's nothing else in my.
Okay, so you're talking about from the person who came, but the interesting thing is, by the time it got to me, it was someone outraged on their social media page, like, I can't believe y'all doing that, and I was like, and I made a comment like, come on, please, like, stop it. This is not that. There are real things to be outraged about.
Right, if we're gonna march,
the school,
if you're gonna march,
we march about
don't march about everything.
School to prison pipeline. We march about Black Lives Matter. We march about the disproportionate number of black kids who don't have quality educational experiences. We march about gerrymandering and not being able to vote in ways that really matter. Let's march about real things. Let's not march about fantasy football, Odell Beckham's face on a little card to pick him for $24 in an auction draft. Like, get over yourself with that one. So I wanted to say that to kind of put it in context that, listen, whomever is listening to this, we do have, you say this all the time, we do have a lot of different type of listeners from different ethnic backgrounds and things of that nature. If there's a big scale, we're both pretty moderate. We're both pretty kind of in the middle of everything. But we might just slant to one side or the other side. And we're just like every other person, we got strong opinions on things that we want to have strong opinions on. But, yeah, some of those things I look at like craziness, man. Craziness. But, yeah, I said I wouldn't say fuck Donald Trump. I don't think I only said it, but maybe once or twice this episode. But
just now. But I also,
that man
I also
probably
want to ask
somewhere in Charlottesville.
I do have a hashtag Charlottesville. You know what? This podcast is brought to you by Charlottesville, because there is a Charlottesville somewhere. I bet you. Whether it's spelled with an E or a U, or maybe an I.
Charlottesville was one of my favorite movies.
They had a fine chick named Charlotte I went to middle school with. But anyway, and this might be completely off topic, but I just want your quick opinion on this. Since we were talking about, the whole Odell Beckham and people picking and choosing their battles and, about, black movements and, whatever. And this is old news, but it's something that I've always wanted to know how you would feel about it. It's enlightening, if you will, like you said, to know how you would feel about it. We know the Donald Stern thing that happened. Everybody knows about Donald Stern thing.
Sterling.
Donald Sterling. Who's Donald Stern?
David Stern.
Same person. So, we know about the whole Donald Sterling thing. How did you feel about the Atlanta Hawks owner? And if you don't know, I'll enlighten you on what happened. Just kind of.
Man, I remember, and something happened with Danny Ferry. I just don't remember the whole story.
So just quickly, it was the owner sent out an email to Danny Ferry or
I knew Danny Ferry had something to do with it.
He just said that the Atlanta Hawks game experience was too black.
Mm-hmm.
You as a black person, how do you feel? He said the cheerleaders were all black. They played all rap music. They gave out free tickets, but they only gave them out only in the black community. And that he wanted to increase the attendance of whites. He didn't say I want to decrease blacks. I just want to increase. I just want to target. I want to get more white people in the building. We got a lot of black people already, but I want to get more. I want to get some white people in here too. How do you feel about that? And and you can read the email for yourself. He didn't say anything that was overly racist.
I don't know, because my initial reaction would be that if a similar situation was just reversed, because that's what I always do in my head, I'll initially go to the reverse scenario. If it's a scenario where they're like, hey, this game experience is too white, There's too many white people. There's too much white things going on in the crowd. We need to invert. We need to get some more black people in here. I think that would be equally as bad.
Do you?
Yeah.
Bad?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that person would win an NAACP.
I absolutely don't think so. Because when you use terms like too white and conversely too black, that's kind of speaking to say that something is wrong with it being that homogenous group of African Americans or white people or whatever. When you say it's too white and the game experience is, too black and the game experience is too black and it's too many black, too many. It's that quantifier that makes it. It's not that it's a lot. It's too many. It's not that it's a lot of rap. It's too much rap. And something about when you make that quantification, that way of saying too much makes it come across as being like
so let's just say
discriminatory.
Let's just say if he didn't say two. If he didn't use the word two and he said only. There's only black people here. There's only black.
That still has the same connotation that it's that something's wrong with it.
I don't think that you give him an out. I don't think that you give him an avenue to diversity.
Yeah.
Like, what is his avenue to diversity?
There's not enough.
Tell his associates.
There's not enough diversity. Say there's not enough diversity in the at the Hawks games. I come to the Hawks game. There's only one type of music that is played. There's only one type of it seems like it's a homogenous group of individuals who come in and watch the games. I want to have outreach to different ethnic groups. That you get away with that, and you say it the politically correct way. Say.
So I feel like that's very, very sensitive.
I mean, but I
think if that man wanted to say it the way I think, if
they say it out your mouth, don't say it in an email. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. But in my opinion, how I really feel about it. So Donald Sterling hated it. And I love my favorite quote was from Dave Chappelle. He said,
"You rather
if you have a problem with black people coming in your games, don't tell your black girlfriend about it."
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? For real. But my associate, a guy that I pay, I need to be able to send him an email telling him how I feel about the attendance of the game. And
watch them subordinates, man.
That's crazy. And whenever I read that full email from top to bottom, and I didn't see anything wrong with it. Well, so that's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
my whole thing is I think that we have more to march for, but I do think that if there's ever an issue where that comes up, where an NBA owner says, "Man, we don't have any white people that come to the games, or we don't have anything else, whatever. We don't have any white people that come to the games. I'm trying to increase our white activity, not necessarily decrease our black activity. I'm just trying to put some more white seats in the building. Everything's black over here. It's just everything's
Atlanta's black though.
Atlanta is black, but they got white people in Atlanta. They got a lot of white people in Atlanta too. What you think it is? What you think the ratio is?
It's a lot more 50-50? Black people. No, probably not. Probably not.
I'd like to look that up.
Probably not. I'm pretty sure it's not. But
Atlanta is very black.
No, pretty much every urban city is mostly black. But yeah, that's not that is beside the point. And I think that we can definitely delve into that one a little bit later. It goes in that bigger conversation of kind of being weary and being sensitive to other people's opinions and what may be deemed as racism and what might not be these days. Some situations, yes, I agree, people are a little bit overly sensitive towards racism, but at the same time, how can you not be? How can you not be if racism is in your face all the time? I feel like you have to you're a lot of times predisposed to be on guard for things like that. So I can't really fault people for. I think when you're in a position of power these days, you should be taking safeguards to make sure that the things you say and the things that are documented can't be construed as being racist. But then why even give a shit if the president's out there just saying whatever he wants? Fuck Donald Trump. See, I said it again. I got it in there. I got me another Donald Trump. Yeah, fuck Donald Trump. Really a real one. But fuck Donald Trump though. But for real though, for real. Hey man, look, that's about all we got for y'all right now. We're gonna try to turn this around and get it out to the masses as soon as possible, man. Let y'all give y'all something to listen to this work week, man. Raj, you got anything else for the listeners?
You know what's hilarious about what you just said?
What's up?
People will hear that at the end of the podcast, and they would have already listened to it. And that was really, for lack of a better term, kind of.
It was redundant. Redundant is the right word.
If you had
an extensive vocabulary, you say redundant instead of stupid. But listen,
I would have
hear
said
you.
stupid. I would have still said stupid. I just don't want to call you stupid because you're not. You're an intelligent man. But it was just funny.
Can we get back to funniness?
We're gonna get this out to the masses.
Can we get this back to funniness next week?
As soon as possible. And even though you've already listened to it. All right.
All right, guys. Hey, man, we'll holler at y'all next week.